Guys, this is Edna with Square Photography, and today I'm going to teach you how I add a little more drama and a little bit more of an epic feel to an image, especially by removing the background and adding a new background. So here in beautiful sunny Southern California, we don't get a lot of rain, so we don't get those epic clouds that you would see in other places like Utah, where there's always beautiful clouds in the sky. We usually have these very clean backgrounds right here. I am going to use this image here of this maternity shoot I just did, and I'm going to start showing you how I do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up this background because I don't know how much of this background I'm going to keep. So here we have some light flare coming from the flash. I'm using the clone stamp tool. I'm using it at 0 hardness, softest brush, 35% opacity is about my go-to. And I'm always photoshopping in the direction of the movement of the image. So here you see the clouds are coming up this way, so that's what I'm doing. And I'm also going the other way so that we're blending very well. So same thing here, I'm grabbing from over here and I'm pushing it this way in that direction. Here we have a little tiny dust spot. We can use the patch tool. Oop, not that one. Keeps doing that. Patch tool right there. And here we can use the patch tool, another little piece of dust here or hair or something that got into the camera. There we go. Beautiful. Just like that. Everything else here looks pretty good. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fix my horizon line because for the life of me I cannot get a horizon line straight if my life depended on it. So I am going to copy Control A, Control C, and I'm going to paste Control V, and I'm going to transform Control T. I'm going to stretch that out a little bit so that I can move this around without having to clone or copy any edges. And I'm going to press Control H, which is the grid. That's here under View, Show, Grid. Okay? So I am going to zoom in to show you the horizon line. Here's the horizon line right here, and you see how way off it is? Right there. I'm going to start rotating it. Under Control T, I'm already transformed. So right now I'm rotating. That looks about right to me. Maybe just a tad more. And normally I don't have these toolbars off to the side, but I have them on here so that you guys can see everything I'm doing. So I can even bring this in a little bit more. Press Shift and then grab those corners to keep all that, the ratios the same. Same thing here, right there, and perfect. Press Enter. Now our horizon line is straight. And press Control H. There we go. Beautiful, nice, clean, straight horizon line. Alright. So first things first, I would do any liquefying or retouching or anything right now first. That's normally where I start. So I am going to do any liquefying by pressing Shift Control X. And I think this has been the hotkey as long as I remember Photoshop having liquefy. And this girl is super thin. There's really not much that needs to be done. She's a very thin girl. If she was heavier, I would definitely do a lot more liquefying, but she's very thin. For a heavier girl, I would bring in the arms, bring in the waist where I could, drop these shoulders down, but she's very thin. So I'm going to press OK. Another thing that I like to do is make my clients a little bit longer. This adds a little bit of a epic feel to the image. It also makes people thinner and taller. So I grab right underneath the hand or bouquet of flowers or whatever so that nothing's really distorted, and with the marquee tool make a rectangular box, press Control T for transform, and you can add any amount of length that you want. You see how much more epic that looks right there? So I'm going to go right there and I'm going to press Enter. Press Control D, and there you go. That's what we've done so far. Now I can also add a little bit more. I can liquefy by making this a little bit more epic, like the wind is taking the dress a little bit more. So I'm going to grab a little bit more, press Shift Control X, make my brush a little bigger, And that's nice right there. Like you can see that the dress is just being taken away by the wind. Right there. And that's beautiful. Let's look at that. Look at that. Doesn't that look pretty? I like it. Press Control D to get rid of the marquee. And now we are going to work on removing the background. So I'm just going to start with a basic removal here. Like I'm going to go to my quick selection tool, and right now it's at plus. So we can grab that background right here, and we can go in and refine this a little bit more. Like you can press Alt and remove this little strand of hair. Press Shift and go in and try to add and take away. But you can also do this when you refine the edge. So here we go. Alright, so I'll show you how to do that. Alright. I'm adding a little bit of that hair right there. Adding this. It's not perfect, but we're going to make it a little bit better here. So now, oh, that's way off over here. There we go. That looks better. We're going to go into, here I've brought it up here to layer 1. We're going to go into Select, Refine Edge. Okay? Oh, actually, let's cancel out of there. The next thing we're going to do is invert the selection to the bottom. Shift Control I. Now we have the bottom selected. Sorry, I forgot that. Select, Refine Edge. Here we go. So now we can get into a little bit more edge refining. We can feather it. So you might want to feather like 1 point, maybe 2 points, 2 pixels. And we're going to add a little bit of Smart Radius here and click on Smart Radius. So that gives it a little bit more. You can play with it, see what works best. So I'm going to leave it, I think 8.5 is pretty good. But I'm going to go in and start brushing in here. So let's remove some of that refinement here by going like this. Right here you see this tool. This is the Erase Refinement tool. And we're going to also go back and forth between Refine Radius and Erase. There you go. All of this looks really nice. This looks pretty good, although I know there's more ocean here, so there we go. And now we're going to erase. And refine. There you go. Erase. Refine. Now here we're going to have a little refinement also. Right around the edges of the hair. And again, we can go in and erase. And we can go back and forth. And again, we can always refine this even more once we have the layer mask on. That looks pretty good to me. That looks pretty good. Okay. So now we are going to go right down here where it says Output 2, and we're going to output New Layer with Layer Mask. Click on that and press OK. So now we have our 2 layers. Sorry, right there. This layer with the mask and this layer underneath. It's the original layer for the background. This one is just a duplicate, which we don't really need. So underneath this layer, we're going to start throwing in some skies. Let's bring our skies over. All right. This is my stock sky folder. Something that you need to really take into consideration is the file size of your image. Here is my image. Where is it? I think it's one of these right here. Here it is, 226. And my file size straight out of cameras was 4.76 megabytes. That's straight out of camera from a 5D Mark III on JPEG. So you don't want to use an image that has a lower resolution or a lot lower resolution because the sky's not going to match. And a lot of times on your monitors you can't tell. For instance, I bought these Hawaiian skies, and if you go into properties, it's a 1.88 megabyte file. It's going to look like crap on the back of your image, and it's probably going to be grainy or pixelated if you try to stretch it out. So try to find a sky that matches your image without being too dramatic or too crazy, and also is a high resolution image. So here, if you look at these Florabella skies, this is a 1.85 megabyte file. This is a 3.20 megabyte file. So make sure that you choose an image that's going to look good behind your photograph. So here we go. Let's see what we can find here. I like these, are nice right here. This looks like it belongs in the photograph, but it's not a lot of clouds, just a little bit of clouds, but we'll drop it in just to see. So to know, this is the way I do it. I bring it in as a separate image. I press Control Alt A and then C, and then I press Control V. So we're going to drop it in on top of this layer between these two. So grab the middle layer and press Control V, and you can tell that that's a high resolution image because it's pretty much covering the entire photograph. We can make it just a little bigger there, and that's going to be okay. So that's okay. I don't love it. It's not that dramatic. It's not that interesting. It does look like it belongs, but it's really not all that. I like this one here too. And again, we could just drop it in like this also. That one's really pretty also. Not amazing, and also doesn't really match the color. For instance, this image, you can tell the sun is coming from this angle. And here, there's no light source. It's all really soft and dim because the light's already gone down under the sky. So it doesn't really go. So I would just say delete this layer. Don't even bother with it. Let's grab another one. Let's go with this one here. Let's drop it in. That looks pretty good. I like that. That looks really nice. That looks like it could belong in the sky. If we made the sky pinker and more blue, I think it would belong. Let's try another. Let's go into these overlays. Let's see. Obviously we can't use these daylight skies because it's not going to match with our image. We have to go with something more sunsetty, and you also don't have to use the whole sky. You can just copy in pieces and portions of skies that you like. So like this one, I like. It's pretty, but I think it's too daylighty for this image, so let's remove it. And that's how I process through these images to see what's going to look best. And we have Floridian skies also. In my opinion, these are very watercolory, the background. So let's see. This one probably looks like it belongs in this image. So it's slightly on the overcast side. So I think it kind of looks like it belongs. So I would hold on to that one. And Really pretty skies here. But we also have to look at the size. 840 kilobytes, no. That is not going to get us anywhere. 1.18 also no. So we're probably going to have to delete this one because it's not going to be high resolution. Alright, let's see what else we have here. Alright, I'm going to use one of these. How about this one? Yep, that's a pretty good high resolution image. And I think this one would be good right here. Right about there I think would be good. Although it might be too much. I think it might be too exaggerated, or then, you know, we're going to require a lot more photoshopping of this area to make it match. Let's see. Anything else? These are little bits of pieces of sky that you can use. Also looks really good. Okay, I say let's leave it at that and see what we can do. Alright, so we have this one, and we have this one, and this one I think is just too boring, so we're going to remove it. And I think, oh, did I remove the wrong one? I think this one's a little too dramatic, so I think we should remove that. I think this is getting closer to what we want. And this one, I mean, although it's probably the same skyline, I think it's just too boring, so we're going to remove it. We're going to play with this image here. And I know that this is a high-res image because I made it higher resolution from another image that I used. So here is the sky that we're going to use. The problem is it doesn't really match with our photograph, right? Our photograph is dark and cool toned, so we have to change that. We'll start by grabbing this background, right? And you can just do a grab just like this. It doesn't have to be perfect. I know I always say that. And I'm going to grab a little bit of her shadows here, because if this image was really shot in this pink and purpley sky, these shadows would be a little pink and purple. So we can do that just like that. And I am going to work on that layer on top, because this is the layer that we're working on. This is the bottom part of this layer here. And I'm going to press Shift F6, and we're going to do 250 feather, which is very feathered. And I'm going to press Control M, and we're going to lighten up the image first. See how light is too light. I think right about there would be good. I think that's pretty nice. We're going to go a little red. Too much. Right about there maybe. We're going to take away a little green to make it a little magenta. See, right there. And we're going to mess with blue. Should we remove blue to make it warmer? Should we add blue to make it more purple? I'm going to say we should add a little blue to make it more purple. Just a tad. I'm going to press OK. So immediately here you can see that we've gotten a lot more purpley and pretty sky to match the sky that we have here. And we have the shadows affected, which would be really how it would be. And here's another little thing. Okay, I'm going to start cleaning up this background here, okay? You see that line right there is kind of not clean. So I'm going to go here, and I'm going to get a brush, a soft brush, and I'm going to go with white. And I'm going to paint in at 100% our background. You see that it's starting to show up there? So just right there. And press X to remove on that side. That looks pretty good. X again for the bottom. Right there. this side I think it looks really nice. Now here's another little tip and trick that I don't think a lot of people know about or they don't use. This sky would be reflected in these tide pools and in this water. So what you can do is you can duplicate the sky, drag it and drop it right here. Right here is you would duplicate. You're going to bring it up above this layer and you're going to press Control T and you're going to vertically drop it into your bottom part of this image. So you're gonna go right to the skyline right there, and you can shorten it or widen it, whatever you want to do. I like those colors, so I'm gonna do this right here. I'm gonna press Enter. And I am going to go here where it says normal and I'm going to overlay it. And you can play with this. You can go into dissolve, you can go into darken, you can go into lighten, you can go into screen, you can go into all of these things until you find the one that you like best. For me, it's almost always overlay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the opacity down. So let's say right around there. And you see how these clouds are being reflected here and reflected in the tide pools. And we're going to go in and add a mask and remove these clouds from our beautiful girl here. We're going to go into black and remove. Now you can leave some of that color on there so that it looks like it is warm, just like the rest of that image. You can leave some of it, like you can just go in and do like 23% and then add some of that in so that you're getting some of those colors in there. Whatever you want to do and however you see fit. Do 75% here. Same thing here. And then remove from here. Too much. Control Z is undo. So it depends on how much of that color you want on there. I mean, obviously, if it's a really crazy skyline, it's going to show like clouds and you don't want it on there at all. Because you can always go in and just select the dress and add as much warmth to it as you want. It really depends on how obvious it looks. There we go. That looks beautiful. Now I'm going to go through and clean up this area here. And I am not on the right layer. So that's the sky on the bottom, and this is this layer here. Oh, wrong thing. Right there. And I'm going to go 50% here so that it kind of shows through the hair a little bit. You see that? Those little hairs, it sort of shows through. You see that? And that's at about 50%. Oh, too much. There you go. That's perfect. You can even go 10% and just soften all that with a little bit of that background. That makes a difference too. There you go. So it almost melds into the sky. You don't want harsh lines anywhere. It doesn't look good. Because all of this pinkness would kind of be bleeding through the image. That looks beautiful. Look at that. That looks gorgeous. You can go through too and kind of soften this line right here. Right there. Sort of make sure that it looks nice and soft. Let's go to 25% and oh, see that? Just soften that skyline a bit. Go back here. Remove some of that. When there's choppy waves like this, you're not going to get a lot of that sky. And here it's not as quite as choppy, so you can leave a little more on. In the tide pools, it's just crystal. You can really get a lot of those colors coming through. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with it the way that it is. Now I am going to flatten this image, but I am going to take a copy because you never know, I might have made a mistake somewhere, and I'm going to make a snapshot of it under the history right here. I can always go back to this exact place where I'm at. Right now I'm going to just squish them all together, Shift Control E. And we've merged all those layers. I'm going to brighten this up just a little bit. I think it's a little bit dark. Shift F6 at 250. Well, let's see what it looks like if we brighten it. I think that's better. It's pretty. And add a little bit of warmth to that. So just a tad. I like that. I think that looks really nice right there. Okay. And now I'm going to add a little bit of contrast. So contrast is added by brightening up the top part of your histogram in your curves and dropping the bottom here. That's how you get some serious contrast. Here you've really darkened your blacks. And you can also just make a slight S curve like this. That's a nice contrast too. So there you go. That looks beautiful. Press OK, and at this point you could save. Press make it C. I'm going to copy it right there. I like to go in with RadLab and play with it a little bit, see if any of the filters are going to look good, like snap. I can add a little bit of snap there, just a tad. Add a little sugar rush. You can always go back and forth and see if I like it. I think it's a little is good, just a tad. I can also see if I like, if I want to add any of the blurring filters, burning on the edges, anything like that. I don't think I want to add anything. I think it looks really nice like it is. So there we go. There we go. Now I'm going to save it. C2. And I'm done. And that's the way I add backgrounds. I'm going to bring in the image so you can see the original. Well, I think I can do it here in history. There you go. That's the original. And that's what we did. All right. Nice big difference. Thank you guys. Go ahead and subscribe and like this video if you liked it. If you didn't, that sucks, but that's okay. And let me know in the comments section if you want any other videos or any other tutorials, or if you can't figure something out, or if you have any questions about this video. Thanks a lot, guys, and have a great day.